You're watching the ANEC Sports Podcast on YouTube. The show starts right now.
Welcome to episode 14 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. My name is Sam Fred, founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, covering 30 schools across Northeast Indiana and parts of Elkhart County. That includes the ACAC, the NECC, and the Northeast 8. We're in the first full week of November, so that means cross-country season has come to an end. Soccer statewide has come to an end. Volleyball is entering its last week of the season. Spoiler alert, the ANEC coverage is not done yet for volleyball. I'll tell you more about that in a matter of moments. Football is going into the sectional championship week. We have quite a few schools competing for a sectional championship throughout the 4 classifications that our schools are competing in the football state tournament. And don't look now, but 2 days from now, at the time of this recording, the start of the girls basketball season will begin, and this episode is going to be basketball heavy in terms of guests. And so, without further ado, let's get into the talk around the corner. And for this part of the segment, I do want to begin by talking about the cross country state finals, which were held in Terre Haute, as several kids competed in the state finals from this area. Obviously, for those that are from Fort Wayne, you probably know that Mallory Weller of Concordia won the state championship with a time of 17 minutes and 12.2 seconds. That means she won it by just under 9 seconds for Concordia. Congratulations to Mallory Weller and Concordia on that individual state championship. Concordia also and don't forget, Concordia placed second as a team with 92 points, trailing only to perennial state power Carmel, who recorded 76 points. Individually from the ANEC area, the top performer was Alex Friesen of Huntington North. The sophomore finished with a time of 17 minutes and 57.2 seconds. So congratulations to the sophomore on a tremendous finish to her season. Some others that performed well in this meet, Kenya Leach of Columbia City, another sophomore, had a time of 18 minutes and 8.1 seconds. Coming just a few spots behind her. Let's see, take a look here. You had Rowan Norris of Leo, another sophomore, placed 26 with a time of 18 minutes and 25.4 seconds. Chloe Gibson of East Snowball placed 27th at 18 minutes and 31.1 seconds. And then let's see, the next closest after that, at least in our area, just want to make sure, Ashlyn Myers of Prairie Heights placed 47th with a time of 18 minutes and 49.1 seconds to round out the top 50 on the girls' side. As far as the boys' side is concerned, Westview had a very strong representative in that state finals, and it's none other than Noah Bontrader, the junior sensation of Westview. He broke the school record with a time of 14 minutes and 51.5 seconds. That's second place on the meet, trailing only to Sam Quagliari of Fishers. I hope I am completely butchering that name, but I apologize. He had a time of 14 minutes and 46.9 seconds. Both Sam and Noah Bontrader placed in the top 10 all time in the history of that meet. So Noah Bontrader is now cemented into the history of this state meet all time, representing the Westview Warriors. And by the way, he has one more year left at Westview. And so obviously with Noah Bontrader, he's going to have a future beyond high school at Westview. He's one of the most talented players in the state of Indiana. He's going to get some attention over the next several months and whatnot. And so we want to congratulate Noah Bontrader and everyone else in the ANEC area for their participation. I do want to make sure I mention some few other names in the ANEC area that did finish well in the race. Brian Garcia of New Haven, another junior, placed 18th at a time of 15 minutes and 34.6 seconds. You also had Andrew Strong of Eastside, placed 25th at a time of 15 minutes and 36.9 seconds. Followed by, Memphis Martin of Lakeland, placed 43rd at a time of 15 minutes and 52.6 seconds. And I believe that rounds out the top 50 for the boys cross-country state finals, as cross-country has now concluded. So congratulations to these kids and many others on participating in the 2024 state finals. Now let's shift over to volleyball. And over the weekend, we had the girls volleyball semi-state competition that took place all across the state of Indiana. We had Woodland from the ACAC traveling to Muncie, specifically Delta High School, as Woodland drew Jimtown in the semifinals of the 2A North semi-state pairing. And Woodland, very successful in that match, swept the Jimtown Jimmies in rather convincing fashion. I believe it was like 25-7, 25-12, and 25-10. It was not a contest whatsoever for Woodland. No offense to Jimtown, but it was kind of a Cinderella year for the Jimmies, a program that had never won a sectional, let alone winning a regional. And so Jimtown finished 15-17. Woodland won their 23rd match. Unfortunately for Woodland, they ran into a buzzsaw known as Western Boone, or for a lot of folks, they call themselves Weibo. Western Boone actually pulled off the upset special in the semifinal round against defending state champion Southwood, who came into that semifinal 33-0, and they lost 5 very, very, very close sets to the Western Boone Stars. It honestly, Southwood could have easily won that match in 3 sets. That's how close it was. But it was a very competitive match, no less, and Weibo just rightfully won that match in 5 sets in the upset special, and they won 3 close sets against the Woodland Warriors, to which Woodland's season ends at 23-10, one of the most successful seasons in over a decade, and Woodland came just 1 match shy of a trip to the state finals in its last 2A. Woodland, nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever for the Woodland Warriors. And then for the Angola Hornets, they traveled to Plymouth. They swept Hammond Bishop Knoll in the morning contest 3 straight, 3 close sets, no less. But Angola did take care of business against Bishop Knoll. Maya Harris had 20 kills and 6 aces to defeat the Hammond Bishop Knoll Warriors. I believe they're called the Warriors, 25-20, 25-19, 25-15. And then the championship match against Northwood, a rematch from the regular season where Angola and Northwood went to 5 sets. The Hornets won that regular season matchup. It lived up the hype in the championship match. Northwood took the first set 26-24. Angola took the second set 25-15. Northwood responded with a 25-20 win in set 3. Angola bounced back, including a stretch of 7 points in their last 8 points going to Angola in set 4, thanks to Aspen Sun's tremendous serving to force a set 5, that 25-19 set 4 win. And then Angola took care of business in set 5, 15-11, led by Maya Harris, recording the final 4 kills for the Hornets, as she recorded 30 kills and I believe 6 aces in the win for Angola, as the Hornets win their first ever semi-state, and they join a list of a handful of teams to ever win a team state championship in Angola history. That includes the bowling team from about 10 years ago. That includes cross country from a couple years ago. I believe it's the boys cross country team that made it to state. And I think boys track just 2 years ago also made it to state as a team as well. So congratulations to Angola girls volleyball, as they have advanced to Muncie, Indiana, for a right to play for a state championship, which they're going to be facing the number 1 team in Class 3A, one of the top teams in the entire country in 2024. Indianapolis Roncalli, undefeated, 34-0. They have never won a state championship as well. One of these 2 teams will hoist a state championship for the very first time in volleyball. Very exciting time for the Angola Hornets as a whole. Now let's shift over to football, and we begin with our football coverage by talking about 1A Sectional 44. South Adams, they were down 32-7 early on in the contest. They rallied from a 32-7 deficit, came back to defeat Tri, scoring 29 of their 36 second half points in a 43-32 win over the Tri Titans. Titus Lehman threw for 297 yards and 4 TDs. Meanwhile, Caden Ewan-Schwander, who's one of our nominees for Performer of the Week at Around the Northeast Corner, 5 catches for 132 yards, 3 TDs. He was the recipient of the last 3 scores for South Adams, as the Starfires advance to play for a sectional championship at Madison Grant to take on the 4th-ranked team in Class 1A, the Madison Grant Argyles. I got to make sure I get this right, otherwise the Madison Grant fans will get upset. So hopefully I said the name. The Argyles of Madison, one of the top teams in 1A. They're physical. They're going to run the football. They're very Adams Central-like in a way, and South Adams is going to have their hands full against the Argyles of Madison Grant. And if South Adams starts off flat again against Madison Grant, they're going to struggle to win this game. So this is Very important for South Ams to get off to a good start against MG. Fremont and Southern Wells unfortunately saw their seasons come to an end as Southern Wells lost to Triton 61-6. Fremont lost to North Miami 35-7. So our coverage of that sectional comes to an end. We expect this game between Triton and North Miami to be close. North Miami will be the host of this game. On paper, if I have to give a good guess who probably has the edge here, it probably will be North Miami. But again, Triton has proven to still be a pretty good team, even though they've had some hiccups along the way in the regular season. Triton's defense still looking pretty strong, only giving up 18 total points so far through the sectional. North Miami is having a dominant postseason, averaging well over 55 points per game in that 2 games in the sectional so far. This is going to be a fun matchup down in Denver, Indiana, in Miami County. Sectional 35 in Class 2A. Adams Central defeats Churubusco by the score of 35-8. Matt Heiser ran for over 130 yards on, 20-some carries. He had a pair of touchdowns as Adams Central defeats Busco convincingly. In Monroe, they're going to be traveling to Butler to take on the Eastside Blazers, who defeated the Prairie Heights Panthers by the score of 41-26, to which Joe Richmond recorded a pair of touchdowns, one of which was a defensive touchdown for the Eastside Blazers, as Eastside will play for a sectional championship at 6-5. Adams Central comes in at 10-1. Adams Central is the heavy favorite to win this sectional. 3A sectional 28, Jay County's season comes to a close at the hands of Bishop Luers. Luers defeats Jay County on the road 41-8. So Jay County's season ends at 3-8, And Bishop Luers will host Mississinawa, who defeated Delta last week by the score of 21-7. Ole Miss is one of the top teams in all of Indiana Class 3. I believe they're third in 3A. Ole Miss will travel to Luers, take on the Luers Knights, the defending state champions from Class 2A. Bishop Luers and Mississinawa. That should be a fun one, but never ever count out the Bishop Luers Knights, as we have seen over the years, and I think Luers will be seen as a slight favorite to win the sectional, even though Ole Miss is pretty talented in their own right. We have an all-NECC sectional final in 3A26. Garrett defeats Tippy Valley convincingly by the score of 42-13 at Tippy Valley. Calder Hefty led the way as usual. Alex Guzman and Cam Rubel continuing to dominate on the ground for the Garrett Railroaders. Garrett's Calder Hefty was named Performer of the Week for Week 10, which was the first round of sectionals. And now Garrett has an opportunity to win their 12th game, which has never happened at Garrett before, because the year they won state in 74 was an 11-0 season. So if they win this game, they not only win their first sectionals since 2016, but they would have the most wins ever for the program at 12-0. Standing their way is West Noble. It's going to be at West Noble. Just like in Week 6, the Chargers defeat Fairfield with a score of 56-22. Seth Pruitt ran for over 140 yards and 4 TDs as Seth continues to amass his legendary high school football career for the West Noble Chargers. West Noble, as we've said over and over and over again, has never won a football sectional before, and now they have an opportunity to do so. They get to host Garrett, a team they already know, a team they already played this year. They're in the same division in the NECC, and 11-0 Garrett versus 10-1 West Noble, winner to advance to regionals. And so very, very fun matchup that we have on full display in Ligonier. 2 very physical teams, 2 teams that are going to play smash mouth football. They're going to run the football. They're going to have 2 smart quarterbacks and 2 very good coaches in Monte Mayhorter of West Noble and Chris DePue of Garrett. I would say on paper, Garrett has the edge in terms of physicality, in terms of their defense, in terms of the line play on both ends of the field. And I do think the play of Calder Hefty at quarterback really makes a difference for the Garrett Railroaders. But it does come down to, can they stop Seth Pruitt on the ground? First time they were successful as he ran for 39 yards, didn't find himself in the end zone, as West Noble didn't score a touchdown in that game. That is going to have to continue, at least to some extent, if Garrett is going to be able to win the sectional, because West Noble is a very good football team, and they're very good at stopping the run. They're also a really good team in terms of pounding the rock and whatnot and going to Seth Pruitt. So Garrett is going to have to continue they're going to have to continue to do the things that Garrett's been good at all year. And that's pounding the rock, milking clock, taking care of the football. And Calder Hefty being a strong quarterback, seeing the field well, they can do those things. Garrett has a chance to win the sectional, but again, West Noble is going to have a chance to win as well. They are a very good defensive team. They're one of the top teams in all of Indiana defensively. They have one of the top running backs in all of Indiana, and this is going to be a fun matchup in Ligonier. And again, with ANEC Sports, we are guaranteed to have one member advancing to regionals. Huntington North is going to make the long drive to Central Indiana. They're going to be taking on Lebanon. Lebanon is a 9-win team. They are seeking their first sectional championship since 1997. They have only won just that sectional title in 97, which they were a 3A school at the time. Lebanon defeated Culver Academy 35-32 and Logan Sport 35-28. So they've been some good competition on the way for Lebanon to get to this point of winning a sectional title. One of these two teams is going to end a long drought in terms of sectional championships because Huntington North has not won a sectional since 1993. So we're going back a few years further back from Lebanon. Huntington North has only won just that one sectional as well in a season where Huntington North has really just surprised everybody else. 1-win season a year ago, 8 wins this season. Huntington North has an opportunity to embark a historic moment for the Huntington North football as the Vikings continue to ascend as a rising program in Northeast Indiana. Can the Huntington North Vikings, led by Tony Decker, the most talented athlete that nobody talks enough about, can Huntington North and the Eschbach spread get it done against Lebanon? This is going to be a good one down in Central Indiana. And then 4A Sectional 19, East Noble, 10-1 on the season. They travel to take on Fort Wayne Bishop Dwayne. Dwayner has dominated so far in the sectional, outscoring their opponents by a combined score of, what would it be, 63-6 in those two games against Columbia City and Wayne. Bishop Dwayner's defense playing really good. Their offensive line is really picking up the last several weeks. They're starting to run the football well. Dwayner can make this a ball game. And honest to truth, they're going to be in this ball game as we predicted before the start of that sectional. We predicted Dwayner and East Noble to play for a sectional title. So this is going to be a fun one. East Noble's defense is legit. Dwayner's defense is legit as well. Dwayner's schedule is legitimate as well. Dwayner is a battle-tested team. They're a second-half team of the last several years. And there's a reason why a lot of people in Fort Wayne think they can go deep in the playoffs in Class 4A. East Noble, though, is going to run the football. They have Dylan Krell, one of the top running backs in all of the northern part of the state of Indiana, over 1,000 yards rushing, 20-plus touchdowns combined on the season for Dylan Krell. You also have the quarterback play of Riley Biddle, one of the big risers in terms of quarterbacks in Northeast Indiana, one of the top defensive lines as well in Northeast Indiana. It's going to be a physical matchup. It's going to be a matchup of trenches, battle of will, physicality, hard work, blue-collar toughness. It's going to be just old-school football between these two teams, and which team can establish the line of scrimmage, which team can actually be the most disciplined team, which team is able to be efficient running the football, which team's going to be able to convert, I think are going to be key factors in that matchup against Bishop Dwayner. Dwayner has been able to win so far in this sectional because their defense has been forcing turnovers and turning those turnovers into points. So East Noble's got to make sure to take care of the football. They've done a good job of that so far, but this Dwayner defense is a little bit different from the past for East Noble. But no matter the case may be for either East Noble or Bishop Dwayner, East Noble has an opportunity to win their first sectional since 2020, following their 21-0 win over the Leo Lions. Later on the show, I will talk about some of the upcoming matchups for the opening week of the high school girls basketball season. Also, I will be discussing in a separate post or video, depending on how things go, I will be previewing the 3A state finals volleyball match as Angola takes on Indianapolis Roncalli in Muncie, Indiana on Saturday. Meanwhile, I will be previewing the football sectional championship games more in depth than just the match and just the fact that they're playing that team. I'll discuss more in depth on each of the teams remaining in sectional play. But as we wrap things up, that is the talk around the corner. And so without further ado, let's get to our interviews. I'm here with the talented senior point guard of the Columbia City Eagles, Addie Baxter. Addie, welcome to the show. How are things going for you?
Great, thanks. I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, I am as well. Addie, before we talk about basketball, I do want to briefly talk about your girls' soccer season because your soccer career just came to an end just about a few weeks ago and whatnot. You became the all-time leader in career goals at Columbia City, received conference recognition, all-state recognition, especially on the academic side. When you look back at your soccer career at Columbia City, how much do you appreciate those milestones and be able to be a part of the competitive but still fun soccer team?
Yeah, I mean, I just joined soccer to play with my sister, and just as something to keep me in shape for basketball. So to be able to achieve like all those accomplishments is like really important to me, and like just a testament to the teammates that I've had and the coaching that I've had, and it's just really been a lot of fun. And I'm glad I was able to be a part of the Columbia City Lady Eagles soccer team.
hmm And now we get to the fun part for you and for your family, and that's the basketball season, to which it
Yes.
starts this week and whatnot. Obviously, when you look at Columbia City, the past 3 years, this team went 62-9 over the past 3 seasons, 2 conference championships in the process, coming up short of winning sectional multiple times, mostly to Homestead of all teams. And we know how that turned out and whatnot. Obviously, you graduated a very talented senior class with Kendra Sheets and as a point guard, Molly Baker in the forward position, Tessa Tonkel as well, and Faith Fry. Talk about what that senior class meant for you and for the program as you transition to this season.
They just had a lot of really good basketball players, a lot of high basketball Q, and I mean, we played together for 2 years, and so last season we really had not very many adjustments to make because we played together for 2 years. And so this year we're just making some adjustments. We have a really good group of girls, a lot of hard workers, a lot of girls that want to be there and want to learn. And so that's really important, what we need to continue to grow on this year as we continue to get better.
hmm Obviously, the players coming back. Yourself, obviously, you have Tessa's sister Anissa back as a junior. You have Lainey Ziliak, one of your classmates, as a senior. She played in the soccer team as well, so you know Lainey quite well, and pretty valuable player for the team in both ways and whatnot. You also have Tora Holler playing her first full year of varsity after playing some last year for this Columbia City team. But you also have some other kids back. I believe you have a player last name of Kidd, and then you have Strat, several kids that were on the JV team that now moved up. Leah Hurdle transferred from Huntington North as well. Talk about what this team looks like as you get into this season.
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of really hard workers this year. And so just being able to learn the game, we have a lot of studying that we're going to do to help with the knowledge. But we just have a lot of girls that are willing to work hard and that are willing to learn and that give it their all. And so that's going to be really important. And just to be able to fine tune our defense, because that's what is going to be our main focus this year.
Mm-hmm. Amy Sheard coming in her 15th season at Columbia City, one of the winningest coaches in the history of Columbia City athletics as a whole. One of the couple of things she mentioned when talking about this season is talking about embracing new roles. Obviously, you now have a bigger role because now you are one of the go-to players as well as a leader on this team. And this is a team that's going to have to be able to play a little more aggressive defensively as well as be able to play faster. Obviously, this team is known for playing fast, but now with your team being more small ball this year compared to last year and the years past, now that speed becomes even more important and that attention to detail on the defensive side. Talk about how things have worked out in terms of that transition to that new style and whatnot, and how those practices have gone so far.
So we're really just looking to play the way that's going to help our team win. So, I mean, if it is playing quickly, then that's what we're going to do since we don't have our true post player. But also when we need to slow it down and keep the ball out of our opponent's hands, that's what we're going to look to do this season.
Mm-hmm. Addie, I want to ask you a quick question here. If you was going to talk to 5-year-old, 10-year-old Addie Baxter right now for advice, what would be that advice for all the young girls coming up, not only in Columbia City, but all across the world and whatnot?
I would just be, don't corner yourself into one position, be able to learn all aspects of the game and become a student of the game and just grow your knowledge, because it's really important, especially as a point guard position, to be able to know all aspects of the floor, all aspects of the game. And so just being able to play every position really helps me as a point guard know what's going on the floor. And so I would just say, don't corner yourself and branch out and play all those positions.
Where have you seen the most growth since coming in as a freshman? Obviously, you are a player that's went through a lot of success, and you have been a player that's instantly brought an impact to Columbia City. But where have you seen the most growth over these past 3.5 years?
Personally, I would say definitely my strength. Just being able to, I mean, I love to drive. That's where I get most of my points. So just being able to take the contact and finish through is really important. But also just my confidence, I feel like, has really picked up, and that's been a big thing with playing against older, stronger girls. And so now that I am one of the older, stronger girls, just being able to maintain that confidence.
Confidence and trust in your skill sets is very important. Obviously, you always have a high motor, but also a very strong IQ on the basketball floor and whatnot. And that's one of the things that makes you very special at Columbia City and whatnot. When you look at this Columbia City team, who's that one player that really keeps things loose on a daily basis?
Definitely Lainey Ziliak. She's actually my best friend. She's just such a bright light in our on our team, and is super funny and quirky, and we really enjoy having her, and she's just a great person.
And it's a team that does always has a very cohesive group. Even going back to when the 2024 class came, it's always a team that felt loose and felt connected to each other, which is very important as you open the season.
Yes.
Well, it was originally supposed to be this Saturday, but as you know, Carroll is going to state in volleyball, so that has been postponed. So now you open the season on the 12th. You're hosting West Snowball, followed by a game against Whitco on the 15th. Talk about that extra time to prepare for that opener against West Snowball, and talk about the importance of getting off to a good start and learn how to build the team chemistry as you get further along the season, especially as you start to get to that conference slate of games and whatnot.
We're just taking it one step at a time, and so just every practice, we're focusing on the things we need to work on, and I mean, just not taking anything for granted. And every practice is important to us and needed. So it's just we're gonna focus on the little details and just continue to grow and learn every day.
Talk about your relationship with Coach Shear. Shear's been around for quite some time, and she's a coach that's seen a lot of history of Columbia State basketball, even during the Wayne Krieger years and whatnot. Talk about that relationship between you as a player and her as a coach.
We're both very competitive people, and we want to win, and so I think that comes. It's very good to have both of those on our team and just be able to push each other. And I mean, she holds me accountable, which is important because I want to continue to learn and to better myself. And I think that she's a great coach, and that Columbia City's been really lucky to have her.
That is for sure. Addie, I want to talk about your commitment to Butler University. Obviously, it was not an easy decision to make because of your attention that you brought on the basketball floor and a lot of interest all across the country and whatnot. Butler saw interest in you and you picked Butler University. Talk about what made it work for you, why it was such a fit for you, and not just for you as a basketball player, but also for you academically as well.
So I'm actually super like I care a lot about my academics, and just being able to have the prestige of a Butler degree is super important to me. I would like to study in pharmacy, so just having that pharmacy degree from Butler is will help with my opportunities. But the coaching staff has a really great vision and loves to support and promote women's basketball, and that's really important to me. And also just their promotion of faith and their love for Jesus was really important for me, and to be able to go there and be comfortable in my faith journey and being pushed there, as well as being pushed in my athletic career and getting better at basketball. And just the vision that they have for me and the communication that they have with me on a weekly basis is so important, because even though I'm committed, they still try and build that relationship and try and be more connected with me.
Especially in a new era of college athletics where it seems like it's changing by the day and the year and whatnot, especially NIL being as it is today and whatnot. That's always important to build those relationships immediately. Obviously, from a geographical standpoint, it's also nice because you're going to be in Indianapolis, so family will be able to come see you play and whatnot. And so you're still going to be kind of at home, but you're obviously going to have to travel a little bit more down there. But you're going to be close enough for your family to come see you play, which I'm sure it's nice for you.
Yes, of course it is.
All right. Addie, as you wrap up your high school career at Columbia City and whatnot, what are the things that you want to take away from this year and to leave a legacy at Columbia City? How do you want to remember this year?
I just like the main thing is this the community that I've had supporting our entire team this far is amazing, and something that I'll never forget, and something that I'll take to heart with me forever. But I just want to make sure that the girls that come up and play for Columbia City know that it's about the community, and it's not about you. It's about your team, the program, the community, because without them, like, we really would not be as successful as we have been and will be. So I think that's just the most important thing to me, is just pouring back into the little kids and to the community that have supported me, and the reason why I've gotten to where I am.
This is Addie Baxter, the senior point guard of Columbia City. She will be going to Butler University at the end of this school year. She's also third all-time in scoring at Columbia City, just entering 1,200 points her career. And I'm sure she don't care about that as much as she does about winning on the basketball court and whatnot. But still, you might have mentioned this before as we talked through the process of asking these questions and whatnot. But talk about, how does it feel to be a part of that rich history of Columbia City basketball?
I mean, it's truly an honor. There have been so many greats that have come through Columbia City, and just to be a part of that is amazing. I really look up to Connie Myers, who coaches my little sister's basketball team, and she's super nice and a great mentor to me. And it's really an honor to be part of this legacy.
Mm-hmm. Addie, for my final question, I want to leave it up to you to give any thanks for the people and the role models that have helped you build to the type of person and player that you are today.
I mean, my family, my coaches, my trainers, my teammates, especially. I wouldn't be here without any of you guys, and even you, Super Sam, for promoting women's basketball and girls basketball at the high school level is really important and help put our names out there. So thank you.
All right, that is Addie Baxter, the senior point guard of Columbia City. As they get things going on the 2024-25 season, they're going to have to wait a few extra days. So their season will actually start November 12th when they host the West Snowball Chargers. Addie, thank you for taking the time to talk about Columbia City. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
I'm here with the head girls basketball coach of the Central Noble Cougars, Sam Malcolm. Coach, how are things going for you?
Hey, not too bad. Thanks for having me on.
No, my pleasure. Coach, going into this season, this is a team that went 14-11 last season. Your team went through ups and downs along the way with injuries and a new team, so to speak, compared to the team that went to semi-state the year prior and whatnot, but still had an opportunity to compete for a conference championship, had an opportunity to play for a sectional championship because you knocked off Eastside in the first round of the sectionals. Fremont obviously ended your season in the championship game. Coach, talk about that, the offseason and the preparation for the season.
Yeah, sure. I think going into every season, you're thinking about how do roles change within the team. I mean, girls are going to step into different roles, and we try to use the summer to figure out some of that, playing girls in different positions, opening their eyes maybe to a different role than what they've had, and sometimes they just have to step up into a different role as well. So we spent the summer doing that, along with, of course, skill work, and we played more than a handful of scrimmage games throughout the summer. So that's basically what our intent was this summer, was to help those girls define their new roles.
Yeah, and speaking of those new roles, so you have some players coming back, which is always a nice for a school like Central, with Abby Fleet coming back, one of the top players from the NECC. You have Kenny Weiss, kind of a scrappy, tough-nosed kid on both ends of the floor. Taylor Custard, Anderson commit as a senior. Forward, Grace Schwenk, one of the top centers in all of Northeast Indiana as a junior. You also have Kira Bolin, underrated shooter and defender for your team as well. You have, Megan Carnahan coming off the bench. And then you also have a freshman by the name of Jaylee Sloan, a 5'10 freshman guard. Just talk about the configuration of this team and where things have improved with this team compared to last year.
Well, I think our team has more depth than we've had in the past. You named a handful of girls there, and we have experience coming back. We have 4 seniors. We have 5 juniors on our team this year, so we've got experience. As far as being in our system and playing experience. So, we've got that could be our strength. Really, is our depth, and the fact. And I've told several people that if we were to line up our top 10 or 12 girls and count them off 1-2, 1-2, and play 10 games, that I think those games would go 5-5 or 6-4. And I looking back at our semi-state team that you mentioned a moment ago, do we have a Madison Weiss or a Megan Keeble type player? I don't think we have that. I mean, we could have a couple of those in the making, but we have just a group of solid girls that can play the game of basketball, and hopefully we can play it well together.
You mentioned the depth, and that was one of the things that made Central Noble really good a couple of years ago was that depth. Also a really good Central Noble defense as well. What are some other strengths that this year's team could provide in 2024-25?
Well, I think you brought it up. I think we can score in multiple ways, and I think we can defend in multiple ways. I think we can, mix our defenses up maybe a little bit. We have, maybe a little more length than what we had last year, and a couple of the players that you mentioned. So I just think that along with that depth, we kind of have a multifaceted way that we can play both offense and defense.
This is your third season at Central Noble. Obviously, you have a lot of experience coaching at a variety of different levels and even officiating in some shape or form. Talk about your progression as a head coach from your first year to now with being the coach at Central Noble.
Wow, that's a great question, Sam, and I'm not sure that I've been asked that, and I'll have to try and give you the best answer I can. It's certainly been one that's been fun, but it's been challenging. A lot of times you talk to coaches, and they'll say, it's a lot different that next chair over, and that's certainly one thing that I found. The one thing about being a head coach that I think a lot of people overlook is that it's really not all X's and O's. I think sometimes college coaches and professional coaches, you see them in the limelight a lot of times drawing up plays and our players winning games and whatever that might be. But at the high school level, it's fundraising and it's ordering their shooting shirts and it's lining up the youth leagues that you're going to play. It's a lot of those things that take time to do. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. I like to consider myself a lifelong learner and, just dive into different podcasts and books and talk to coaches and just try to learn and be a better coach than I was the year before. But it's certainly been fun. It's been neat too to watch the girls progress in their skill sets and then progress as young ladies too that are going to go out into the workplace or go on to college and then be a good citizen for our communities.
Mm-hmm. That is for sure. You look at this Central Noble team, and obviously Central Noble is a very small school. Obviously, small town. Everybody knows everybody. Central Noble has a great fan base. The jungle in Albion, Indiana, the Cougar Den, depending on whoever calls it, always a great atmosphere on game nights and whatnot. And these kids are very connected to one another as a family and whatnot. Talk about what this year's team brings away from the X's and O's, away from the basketball side of things.
Well, I think we've got a group that's coming together very nicely. We've spent a lot of time together the last 2 weeks. Of course, we finished up our second week of practice. We did have fall break as a school 2 weeks ago, which would have been the first week. So we were missing a handful of girls due to their families taking some vacations or a few days off or whatever. And that's all fine. But this week, we had everybody. We're rocking and rolling in practice. We had youth yesterday morning. We had our scrimmage. We spent time together after the scrimmage at one of the girls' houses, playing games. Doing some of that team bonding stuff that's important. And I think this group's, showing that they're coming together and ready to come together for for a long season here. We hope to be playing basketball well into February.
That is definitely the goal for every program that's during the beginning of the season, to be able to get to the state finals and whatnot. Looking ahead to your first game of the season, you're going to be hosting the Bishop Luers Knights. That's going to be the ANEC game of the week. Bishop Luers, the defending state champions in Class 2A, but they are quite different from last season that when they won state. No Addie Shank this year, no Annika Davis and whatnot, no Maggie Parent. Maggie Parent moved to Florida. Shane's at Huntington University. They still have Reese Roadhammer, who's going to be playing college basketball at the next level. They have a new head coach, Coach Pitsley, retired and whatnot. Coach, this Bishop Luers team has been a challenge over the years with their size and their defense and the athleticism that Bishop Luers brings. When you look at that matchup with Bishop Luers, what stands out to you?
Well, I just think, first game of the year for us, they get to play a game earlier in the week. And, maybe they'll get a chance to shake any rust off or fix some things maybe in their first game that we won't have that opportunity to. But we're looking forward to getting together and playing them next Saturday night. It was nice in our scrimmage for the girls to be able to go against somebody other than themselves. They made that comment a couple times after the game, and that's kind of what we're looking forward to. I mean, the bad part about saying somebody's a defending state champion, yeah, the school is, but obviously that team, as you mentioned, is quite different, and I'm sure Coach Hathaway has been getting them put together. And Road Hamill, she certainly can shoot it. I mean, I remember back scouting report from last year about she can knock it down and can shoot them from deep. So we'll dive in this week into preparing for them. Being honest with you, I haven't really looked ahead at that. We'll start this week on preparing for Bishop Lures. We've just been kind of trying to get our conditioning in order and get the girls all on the same page here in the last week. So we'll dive into them. And unfortunately, I really don't, other than the Road Hamill girl, I'm really not sure what kind of comments to make on them other than it's Bishop Lures and they will be ready to play.
Yeah, that is for sure. And obviously, with your team's schedule being built as it is, it kind of is built like a football schedule in a way where you're just focusing on just that one game, and that's Bishop Lures. Coach, as you assess this week and you're going to go through the practices leading up to that Bishop Lures game, what are some things you're looking for your team to continue to improve as you prepare for the home opener against the Bishop Lures Knights?
Yeah, I think we want to come out. We want to try and set the tempo, pushing the ball on offense, but we really want to dig in on defense. And we've set some defensive goals for the team this year. And as the coaching staff and the girls have talked, and, we have some defensive goals, put in place on what we'd like to do. And again, mentioning, I think we can play some different kinds of defenses at times. And I think we're going to utilize that because of our depth and maybe our athletic ability that we have. But this week we're just kind of trying to gear up to be ready to play the kind of basketball that we want to play.
Last question for me, Coach. There's a lot of excitement right now for Central Noble girls basketball. Obviously, the last plus years or so, Central Noble basketball has become a hotbed here in Albany, Indiana. State championship on the girls' side, boys going to state finals in 2022 and whatnot. There's a lot of excitement for Central Noble basketball, as it usually is. Coach, what are some things you're most looking forward to about this season, especially playing in a very competitive conference in the NECC?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. The NECC is, in my opinion, as tough a conference in girls basketball as there is in Northeast Indiana. I mean, every time you look at your conference opponent, it's going to be a dogfight, and that certainly is the case. We are fortunate at Central Noble with the fan base that we have. I mean, there is excitement around the program. Just crossing paths with a few of our fans here in the last week or so. They're excited to come out to our first game, and we try to tell the girls, or we do tell the girls, to don't take that for granted. You have a special thing here in Albion, and the way that the fans support the high school sports, and I think our girls appreciate that, and I know we as a coaching staff appreciate that as well.
All right, that is Sam Malcolm, the head girls basketball coach of Central Noble. Coach, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Hey, just anxious to kind of get going here this week. Probably will seem like it's going slow tomorrow and Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday I want it to slow down. But looking forward to getting back on the court, playing some games, and seeing what this season would bring. And Sam, again, just appreciate all you do for sports around Northeast Indiana. Thank you.
That is Sam Malcolm of the Central Noble girls basketball program as they prepare for the season and home opener against Fort Wayne Bishop Lures. Coach, thank you for taking time to talk about your team, and good luck this season.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the NEC Sports Podcast. I would like to thank our two guest interviews this evening for coming on to talk about their teams and on the upcoming 2024-25 girls basketball season, which starts on Election Day Tuesday. So Tuesday is going to be a busy day all around, but especially for high school girls basketball. And we have a lineup of games we want to discuss here real quick. So let's go ahead and jump right to it. We'll begin with the
Allen County Athletic Conference. And on Tuesday, we have 3 games in slate for that matchup. Adams Central at Northeastern. Adams Central has a new head coach this season under Rob Earl for the Adams Central Flying Jets. They're going to be on the road for 4 of the first 5 games. Their lone home game will be the ACAC game of the week, as the Jets will host the Lakewood Park Christian Panthers. But a young team nonetheless in a rebuilding season for Adams Central. Northeastern has some talented girls on this team. I think they have a girl that is committed to Detroit Mercy, I believe. Yeah, they have Addison Kircher, who's their leading scorer, averaging 15 points per game. They have Cami Angie, they're one of the leading shooters on the team as a senior. They have Addison Mastriano actually graduated from last season, so she is now at Detroit Mercy. Ava Meitzel, however, is back for her senior year. She's one of the more talented players coming in that area of Indiana. But certainly Northeastern will be a challenge for Adams Central as a team that is young and rebuilding on the season, looking to get things set in stone, establishing some cultural standards under Rob Earl at Adams Central. Southern Wells at Northfield, going down to Wabash. Southern Wells has had a lot of struggles over the years. After several years under Jessica Killingbeck, they have a new head coach, new but familiar for Southern Wells folks, and that's Kyle Penrod. You might know him from his time on the boys program. He's now coaching the girls team at Southern Wells. Southern Wells is a very interesting team because we don't talk a lot about Southern Wells girls basketball in the past because they haven't had a lot of success lately at Southern Wells, but we are starting to hear about some freshmen at Southern Wells that are starting to find their way to the roster. And obviously, you look at some returning back like sophomore Kaylee Koffel. They have, just looking through here real quick, they have Kenzie Patson's a senior, number 25. Remy Holmes is a sophomore as well for the Southern Wells Raiders. They do have a lot of young kids on this team. Cadence Watkins is a freshman. But last year, they were an incredibly young team. They were starting a lot of freshmen on that team. And they're at least a year older this year. But they're definitely going to have a start to the season. Northfield, certainly not a pushover, to say the least. Northfield made it to regionals last season, I believe. Yeah, they went to regionals last season. They fell to Clinton Central by 42 points. Clinton Central was one of the top teams in 1A last season under Hillary Eltsroff for the Norse. They were 12-13 last season. The Norse will certainly be a challenge for Southern Wells this season. And then Woodland at New Haven, the East Allen County Schools rivalry, as Woodland takes shape on this season. I'm not sure if they're actually going to be playing that game because Woodland is coming off of playing semi-state. So there is a chance maybe that game gets rescheduled. I'm not 100% sure on that. I cannot confirm that. But anytime you have a deep playoff run in a fall sport, you do wonder if games like this are going to get played. But at least in its original schedule. But right now, it does appear like Woodland New Haven is scheduled to play on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. I'm pretty sure New Haven does not have a JV team. On Thursday, Leo is at Heritage, another East Allen County Schools rivalry. Heritage had a rebuilding season last season. The rebuild's likely to continue this season under Nicole Sisson. But this is definitely one of the bigger matchups on their calendar as they take on a young but still athletic Leo team. I know Leah Chappelle is one of the top players to highlight for the Leo Lions. I'll talk more about Leo in a separate video previewing the Northeast State. But Leo, certainly a tune-up game to get things ready for their season for the Leo Lions. And then Friday, right now they have Garrett and Woodland on Friday. But again, just like I mentioned from the Tuesday game, I'm not 100% sure if that game is going to get played due to the volleyball run to semi-state. I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work. So do keep in mind that if there's a reschedule dates for both Tuesday and Friday, please note that with Woodland being going through semi-state, there is a chance of that happening and whatnot. But keep an eye on that. But no less, if the game is played, Garrett and Woodland will certainly be an interesting matchup between a young Woodland team that won a sectional championship for the first time since 1990 and a Garrett team that returns a lot, led by Sarah Depew, and they got some freshmen on the team led by Emma Kaufman. And then Saturday will be a busy slate of games. Eastbrook at South Adams. Eastbrook's going through a new head coach this year, a familiar coach in Alicia Griffin, after many years being led by Jeff Lidd. Jeff is actually coaching the boys team now at Eastbrook. Alicia coming from being an assistant coach now as a varsity head coach as they travel to South Adams to take on Brett Freeman, the winningest coach in the history of the program. He's back after a few short years away from the program. He's back to coach South Adams once again, as he's in his 10th season at South Adams, 17th overall as a head girls basketball coach. South Adams looking to get things moving in this retool stage of their season, as Macy Prees graduated from last season after becoming the school's all-time leading scorer. You also have Canterbury and Bluffton. Bluffton will be a heavy favorite there. Southern Wells and Union City. Union City probably going to be favored there. And then the ACAC game of the week, Lakewood Park at Adams Central. Lakewood Park, a lot of excitement for Jared Eastep's Panthers coming off of a very successful season in 2023-24, where the Panthers went 16-7, one of the most successful seasons in the history of the program. They did lose Jake Carnahan to graduation, as well as Grace Camlighter and Grace Merkel. They do return quite a bit back, including Ava McGray and Lilia West of Lakewood Park. They also have a lot of freshmen on this roster. Luca Bontrader is one name in particular from the girls soccer team, and she is a part of this roster as well. Lakewood Park potentially has a pretty deep team on their hands going into this season. They also have Rhea Johnson from the soccer team on the basketball court as well at Lakewood Park. We're excited about what Lakewood Park's going to bring this season on the basketball court for the Lakewood Park Christian Panthers. But that's going to be the ACAC game. We'll talk more about Lakewood Park and Adams Central in the ACAC preview on the ANEC website. Going to the Northeast States, on Tuesday, the Cal will be at Bishop Lures. If you listen to Sam Malcolm's interview, he discussed about Bishop Lures having a game before taking on the Central Noble Cougars, and that is because they're going to be playing DeKalb on Tuesday. Bishop Lures looking to transition to a new head coach in Coach Mary Hathaway. DeKalb returns quite a bit back, including Ashley Cox, the St. Francis commits. You also have Abby Harris, a sophomore guard on this team. You've got Bree Fordyce, going to be a scrappy player with their senior leadership and her defense. You have Grace Pfister. I apologize. It's Grace Pfister that's playing on the basketball court. And then you have Reese Schmidt, Mara Keys, a lot of familiar names from soccer as well. Ellington Sparkman, as a freshman, she played on the golf team this past fall. And they also have, I'm pretty sure that's the ones I know for sure. And the DeKalb team will be interesting to see if the Cal Barons can improve from last season. Tall task going to Bishop Lures. Norwell is at Tippy Valley. Norwell is coming off a state finals run last season. Norwell coming just one shot shy of winning a state championship. They finished that season 23-5. They graduated a pretty big senior class led by Kenny Felling and Mackenzie Feast and Dakota Hubble. They do return a bit back, including the junior talented player at forward and guard, Vanessa Rossworm. They also bring back another Graft on this team, Ryland Graft. They also have several other players back that are coming up from the JV roster. You look at Addie Norris is another returning varsity player. You have Mackenzie Beck from the volleyball team. You have Jada Dale, familiar name from, I believe she ran cross country. You have Macy Solfrank from the volleyball team. Larkin Smith's a familiar name, multi-sport athlete there. Ashley Wallman, a solid golfer on the team. Haley Williamson is the name I keep hearing about at Norwell. She is a nice multi-sport athlete for Norwell as a sophomore. Watch for Haley Williamson over the course of the next couple of years as she establishes her tenure as a varsity player at Norwell High School. Olivia Green and Bella Swineford, just a few other names to wrap up that 2024-25 Norwell team constructed by Eric Thornton, the legendary head coach of the Norwell Knights. They're going to be going to Tippy Valley to Death Valley to take on the Vikings of Tippecanoe Valley. They have a new head coach in Rebecca Parker after a long stint to which Valley was coached by Chris Kinded. Kinded stepped down after last season to which they went 19-4. Valley, a traditional powerhouse in girls basketball and a tough place no less for the Norwell Knights. On Thursday, south side of New Haven, as New Haven looks to find some early wins on the season, but it's going to be difficult to do so against Southside under legendary head coach Juanita Goodwell. Southside looking to establish some early season success against New Haven. New Haven returns a lot, but struggles have been very much a common occurrence for the New Haven Bulldogs so far in the past several years. On Friday, Norwell is going to be hosting Indianapolis Cathedral. That's a program with some success over the years. They went 12-12 last year, but keep in mind that Cathedral plays a pretty tough schedule. So that record was very misleading last year for Cathedral. And then Lakeland's at DeKalb. Lakeland is rebuilding, but they do have some underclassmen back at Lakeland as James Benson hopes to build off of a 4-19 campaign as Lakeland looks to move forward and improve this season. We'll talk more about Lakeland in the NECC preview. DeKalb will be a heavy favorite in that matchup. On Saturday, what was supposed to be the NEA game of the week, Columbia City and Carroll, that game has been postponed. The Dan Ginder confirmed that earlier today that game has been postponed to a to be determined date. So that will no longer be the NEA game of the week. That will now go to Warsaw at Norwell. So Norwell's going to have some pretty tough games to start the season. Warsaw returns quite a bit back, including Brooke Zartman, the Miami commits. Miami, Ohio, not Miami, Florida. Brooke Winchester, a Ball State commit, is back for her senior year. You got Jocelyn Brinker, one of the top shooters in all of Indiana. Warsaw is an incredibly talented team, a team that has had success in the regular season, but have struggled to get over the hump in the postseason. This will be a good stepping stone for Norwell as they hope to build off of last season's success and really work their way up as the season progresses in hopes of defending the Northeast State. They're going to have a very challenging matchup against the Warsaw Tigers. I'll talk more about that in depth in the NEA Game of the Week preview, which you will be able to read on the NEC Sports websites. And then Concordia is at New Haven. Concordia is a heavy favorite there. Those are 7:30 p.m. games. And then at 2:30 p.m., so before those games are even played, 2:30 p.m., Westview is at East Snowball. I talked with Brendan Isaacs earlier, about a couple weeks ago, and he discussed about East Snowball's excitement on a brand new season in the girls basketball court. However, they're going to have to start the season without Ellie Will due to injury. And so East Snowball hopes to build off of the success of last season. If you look at this East Snowball team, Avery Amstutz, one of the top point guards in Northeast Indiana. She's only going to improve from here. You have the David girls, Kate David, as well as Ryan David. Ryan David is one of the top shooters in her class, and she's going to be one to keep an eye on. Ellie Will in the post will be very much needed, especially down the stretch, but right now she is not healthy, so they're going to have to be able to start the season without her and have to go through those early season obstacles along the way. They also have Addison Deming, a very solid two-way player for the East Snowball Knights at the guard position. McKenna Strom is on that team, as well as Shay Ritchie for the East Snowball Knights under Brendan Isaacs. Very difficult start to the season in hopes of having a competitive team along the way. They'll be taking on a Westview team that is still in the midst of a rebuild. And Westview hoping to bounce back after a disappointing last season to which Westview went 5-19. And then lastly, we take a look at the NECC. And we begin with Tuesday. Churubusco is at Bishop Wayner, new head coach for Churubusco in 2024-25. That's Dawn Koch coming out of Carroll. This is her first gig as a varsity head coach. So there's going to be some learning curves early in the season. They're going to be traveling to take on Bishop Wayner, who has a new coach of their own, a veteran coach no less than Kurt Comer, the longtime coach at Jay County, now finds himself in the SAC for the Bishop Wayner Saints. Churubusco does return some players back, led by Bridget Timbrook, Brooklyn Sinclair, Patty Wids is also back at Churubusco as well. So they have the experience capable of being competitive in the NECC, but they're going to have some tough non-conference games along the way as they look to build a winning culture at Churubusco that is desperately needed right now for this program. Tough first game for them. Elkhart is at Fairfield. Another intriguing matchup for the Falcons, coming off of a very successful team last season when they went 22-4. They won the NECC regular season title, went to the conference tournament championship game, falling to East Side. They also made it to the sectional final, falling by 2 points at the hands of Northwood. Northwood went all the way to semi-state, by the way. So Fairfield has some state aspirations still on their hands for Coach Kyle Hartman and the Falcons. They returned quite a bit back, led by Eva Herbert of the Fairfield Falcons. They also have Madison Jones back at Fairfield for the Fairfield Falcons. They also bring in several other key players that, for whatever reason, I am blanking. Oh yeah, Michaela Mass is back, which she didn't play last year on the varsity team because she transferred during the season from Westview, so she was ineligible to play last season and whatnot. But she will definitely provide something different, but also effective. She'll be an immediate impact for the Fairfield Falcons, the shooter and defender. And I think she'll be a player that I think fans are going to be excited about for this season. Macy Werfman is another player coming as a junior, solid depth piece on there. Hattie Herbert's on that team. You got Hayden Minder and Aubrey Wodeman, Maddie Miller, Gizzle Lopez. I think that Michaela Mass is certainly going to bring an immediate impact, though, to the Fairfield Falcons. I liked her during her time at Westview, and I think she's only going to provide Fairfield just another dangerous shooter and weapon on this Fairfield team that also can be a versatile scorer and defender as well. Elkhart, though, is going to be a very interesting match. Elkhart does have a lot of talent, a lot of young talent. And Elkhart's going to be a team that's going to be a team to watch in the NIC. So this is a good first test for the Fairfield Falcons. Prairie Heights at Jimtown. Panthers had a very promising last season after only winning one game the previous season. They won 7 games last season. So very promising steps towards the future for Prairie Heights under Bill Moore. They returned quite a bit back, led by Emily McCrae of the Prairie Heights Panthers. They did graduate Sarah Park, however, so that's a pretty big loss for them, but they do bring back some good players, good Prairie Heights kids, I should say. Emily McCrae, Avery Wagler, Madison Certain, Peyton Gibson, Jenna Park, Bailey Gotze, Avery Certain. It's a young team, but they're going to be scrappy. They're going to be tough. They're going to play hard-nosed basketball. They're going to be a tough team to play against. And I think that's what Bill Moore has always done in his time at Prairie Heights. His teams always play hard, and his teams always are ready to play. And I think we expect that this season, regardless how many games they win in 2024-25. Jimtown, though, did show some promise last season after a lot of rebuilding seasons at Jimtown. Finally showing some life in 2023-24, winning 9 games. Pretty good first test for both teams. And then Fremont, coming off a sectional championship, they return a lot of good pieces back. They're going to be hosting South Bend St. Joseph. St. Joseph out of the NIC. It's not the program that they were maybe 7 years ago when they were a team that won a state championship, but they are still a pretty good program, battle-tested program out of the NIC. And Fremont, again, as I mentioned earlier, the expectations have skyrocketed since the start of last season, winning a sectional championship. Now there's hopes of Fremont competing for the conference championship. You got Addie Parr, right? Senior year, helping Fremont win their first ever volleyball sectional. Rayleigh Moss, Claire Folk, another player, helping her volleyball team win a sectional, right? Claire Folk committing to St. Francis for volleyball. Grace Charlotte just picked up an offer from Huntington University the other day. She's only a sophomore point guard and only going to get better. One of the top players in the NECC is Grace Charlotte. Maya Turner, one of the top versatile forwards in the NECC is Maya Turner. You have Chloe Verdon, Mallory Huffnagel, Haley Heller. This is a team with depth. It's an athletically talented team. It's a team with a lot of experience, hungry for some success this season, and Fremont looking to compete in the conference, to which Fremont hasn't done so in quite some time. And so now the Fremont Eagles hoping to be a part of the conversation here in 2024-25. They open the season playing South Bend St. Joseph at the Cage on Tuesday before they travel to Canterbury on Thursday. And then you look at Thursday, as I mentioned earlier, Cherubusco to Lakewood Park. Lakewood Park is a pretty big favorite against Busco. Eastside Concordia, that was the NECC and the ANEC game of the week last season. Eastside won convincingly against Concordia. Concordia returns a lot back, led by Olivia Mullinger, who just recently picked up an offer from Hope College, one of the top non-divisional programs in the entire country, just located up in the Michigan area. So Hope College is a very good university for women's basketball. Notably, a player by the name of Lauren Leach from Angola. She has played at Hope over the years. So definitely a well, highly spoken program up in Michigan. Eastside returns a lot back, led by Paige Traxler and Lily Crusher for the Eastside Blazers. They also have Taylor Mack on this Eastside team. You got Lucy Kitchen, as well as, JC Kitchen graduated. JC graduated. She's at Taylor now. Lucy Kitchen's a sophomore. Sydney Kessler is now in her senior year. She had a visit with St. Francis, I believe, the other day. Sydney Kessler is definitely a solid player for this Eastside team. She was a huge reason why they won the conference tournament for Mike Lordy's Eastside Blazers. They have Avery Wilson on the team. Adelaide Eldon, Ryan Muffler, and Addison Muffler are a couple of names that provide some depth to this Eastside team. And the Blazers, one of the favorites to win the Northeast Corner Conference. They got a good matchup going to the cage, Concordia's own cage, against the Cadets. West Noble is at Bethany Christian. This is a rebuilding season for Bethany after graduating Zoe Willems and Mariah Stolzfus. Stolzfus is now at Race College, and Willems is at Trine University. West Noble, curious to see where West Noble goes from here. They're going to start having some talent for the first time in a while. How does that young team look, and how will it be constructed this season for the West Noble Chargers, coached by Haley Holiday? And then Westview Hamilton no longer in the NECC, so it's now just a non-conference matchup. Friday, we've already talked about the 2 Friday games. And then Saturday, Fairfield's at John Glenn, Blackhawk Christian at West Noble. Blackhawk was one of the top teams in 1A last year before falling to Bethany in the sectional championship game. Hamilton and Cherubusco. Wawasee at Prairie Heights. As I mentioned, Westview East Noble. And then Bishop Lures at Central Noble, the ANEC game of the week. Bishop Lures defending state champions, but frankly, it's a different team from the team that won state last season. And Bishop Lures, led by Reese Roadhamel, looking to add some early season confidence with a different team, a new coach. And they go to the Jungle in Albion, Indiana, to take on the Central Noble Cougars, who have a very talented team led by Abby Plea at point guard. You have Grace Swank at center, Taylor Custer in the forward position, They have Kiara Bolin as a senior, one of the top underrated shooters on that team at Central Noble. You have some other talented players that for some reason I am blanking for just a moment here. Megan Carnahan off the bench. Kennedy Weiss is going to provide some tough defense for Central Noble. You have Katie Forker off the bench. You got other really talented players on this Central Noble team. And Sam Malcolm alluded to this earlier. But the one player really keep an eye on, in my opinion, is going to be the progression development of Jaylee Sloan, the 5'10 freshman. She's going to be a star in this area. And whenever you are someone that's related to Leah Brown, there's definitely some potential there. And from what I've been told, Jaylee Sloan's got a lot of potential over the next 4 years at Central Noble. And she might be the next star for the Central Noble Cougars. But we don't know exactly where that will, or when or how that will transpire for her. She will have a lot of potential and talent ahead of her. But this is a talented Central Noble team that should compete in the NECC this year as long as they can stay healthy and whatnot. But that's what it looks like for the area for girls basketball for the opening week of the season. And also, I want to make sure we don't forget Whitco's going to start their season as well. They were the team that shared the TRC last year. We'll talk about Whitco next week as they'll have a couple of key matchups on full display for the Whitco Wildcats as they look to stay competitive in the Three Rivers Conference. But that's it for the upcoming matches for high school girls basketball. I will once again break down the ACAC, the NECC, and the NE8 in separate videos. But that's all we have for what's to come for basketball. And so that is going to do it for episode 14 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. Tune in next week for a new exciting episode of the ANEC Sports Podcast as we shift away from the fall season and starting to fully embrace the winter season with basketball, later with wrestling and other sports that follow. So, for my name is Sam Frick, I say so long. Thank you for watching the ANEC Sports Podcast. Please like this video and like the page ANEC Sports on YouTube. Let people know that the ANEC Sports is on YouTube. Also like our Facebook page at Around the Northeast Corner and follow either Around the Northeast Corner and Sam Frick on Twitter/X. We're also on Instagram as well. Just look for ANEC Sports or Around the Northeast Corner and you will find us there. You can also follow the man himself, Sam Frick, the founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, for other additional content. This has been an Around the Northeast Corner presentation.